Hey, what's going on everybody? It is Paul from Guitar Gear Connection. Now if you haven't seen it already, make sure you head over to Gear There and Everywhere and check out our latest episode where we take a deep dive into John Lennon's 1958 Rickenbacker 325. We also have special guest Mark Benson come on from 1964 The Tribute. It's probably one of the best episodes we've done yet. But kind of in response to that episode, I wanted to talk more details about my Rickenbacker 325 and all the mods I've done to it. So of course, starting off, this is a 1996 325 V59. I've had this thing probably since I was 13 or 14 years old. My dad had picked it up in a local guitar store up in Boston and paid a really good price for it. And it's held up all these years, and I've played it off and on here and there, and I do enjoy playing the 325s. So, not the first mod I've done to it, but kind of just to stay in order of all the things I've done to the guitar, start off with the headstock. So first, of course, I changed over the occlusion style tuners and went with the Star-Tight Grover tuners, exactly what John Lennon had on his Rickenbacker 325 back in the day. I love the way they look, and they add such a cool flavoring to the guitar. And thankfully enough, I did not have to change the screw hole pattern at all. I was able to maintain everything the same when adding these on. The only thing that was really a pain was just trying to push those dowels out the front, but we ended up getting them all out. So then next thing, of course, is the headstock itself. You probably know that the V-Series models have a little bit of a wider headstock than, of course, what John had on his, or versus how the C models are made, just like how John's was, of course. I know some guys do some modifications to the headstock to thin it down to look a little more correct, but it's a little big of a mod for me, and I don't really plan on shaving any wood and repainting and all that, so for now I'm going to leave the headstock alone on this. Next mod I did was the fretboard. Of course, John's, after he had his guitar refretted in 1963 by Burns of London, they of course had to plane down the neck and took all the paint, all the lacquer off the fretboard. So to mimic his, of course, I did the same, and this is how the C models come as well. So all I did was I used a red scuff pad, just back and forth, side to side on the fretboard, went up each direction. I didn't even mask off the frets or anything, just lightly, just enough to kind of scuff into the paint a little bit and to kind of give it the appearance that there's no more lacquer there. But in reality, all I kind of did was just scuffed it up enough to make it look dull, as an appearance as if it's not there anymore. So moving down, the pickups. Now, of course, these are still the factory high-gain pickups. I hear different things. John Lennon's original 58 325, some people say that the pickups themselves had a low-gain output, such as 3.5 for all positions. Some say 5 ohms for all positions. I've heard so many different things. Right now, of course, I'm still high gain, like I said. I think it's like 11,000, 12,000 ohms these are. Still sounds great. Hopefully I'll have a little sound demo at the end of this video so you can hear how they sound. I don't really plan on changing them. I do plan on possibly sending them out and having them rewound so that I can get them down to like 3.5 maybe, or 5,000. I'm not exactly sure what value I'm going to go with just yet, but that'll probably be the next thing that I do to this guitar. But what I did do to the pickups, though, to kind of make it look more like John's was back in the day, is I changed out the Phillips head screwdrivers that are on the edge of the pickup covers and put flat heads on. Of course, that's how usually you can distinguish a V-Series high-gain toaster top pickup from a C-Series or a vintage-style lower output pickup, is because they usually have Phillips head on all the corners or all positions on the high-gain pickups. So I did that little mod. The bridge, of course, this is the bow tie bridge. Just forgetting the name for a second. This I had bought in 2014 or so, or 13, and put it on. I forget exactly where I bought it from and how much I paid for it, but of course it's a mod you gotta do. It just helps the guitar look so much better. And with my V-Series pickguard, thankfully I didn't have to do any modifications or sand anything down on the pickguard. Everything seemed to fit up pretty good with it. At the same time I got that bridge, I also did the knobs. Again, it was from the same company, or I really do forget. But the knobs, they look great. They have a perfect coloring, I think, to them. Kind of dull. They're not really like a polished aluminum or anything like that. And I think I really did pay cheap money for them. But again, sorry, I forget exactly where I got those from. Next, the pickguard. I know that bothers a lot of people. whenever I post the picture of this guitar on my Instagram or talk about this guitar or anything, it is the first thing people say. Oh, what's going on with your pickguard? Why do you keep that ugly, nasty V-Series pickguard where the knobs are in such a strange place I can't stand it? I don't notice it. You know me, I'm really picky for detail. And of course, if I'm looking at a 325, I can tell right away if it's a C or a V from that now that I've seen it more. But it doesn't bother me. I think the spacing looks pretty dang good. And eventually I might get a new pickguard, but it's kind of a lot of work because you can't just put a C-Series pickguard on this because the screw pattern is slightly different. So I basically have to get a V-Series pickguard, which I think is Pickguardian makes it. They actually make a V-Series pickguard that's just blank. But then again, I'm going to have to get a template, drill the holes, get the knobs now all in the right spot, so kind of just don't want to get involved with it just yet. I got a few other guitars and stuff that I want to mod. Maybe eventually I will do the pickguard, but honestly I kind of like leaving it on just because of the fact that it makes so many people angry. I love it. Next, underneath the pickguard, the wiring harness. I had bought it on eBay. I had of course taken out the factory V-Series harness. I threw that out while I still have it, but you know, I'm not going to use that anymore. And I got a replacement harness from a guy on eBay. He was making custom harnesses. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he has them up for sale anymore. But I'll tell you, this thing was really nice. I forget exactly what I have paid. I'll probably have it pop up on the screen right now. The eBay listing from back in the day, if I could find a picture of it. But they were making it to exact C specifications, and I figured that was good enough. I know a lot of people get the Glenn Lambert harness for their guitars, but when I was planning on modding this guitar and when I was doing it, I couldn't really find a Glenn Lambert harness. I don't know if he makes them anymore. Of course, he's one of the 325 gods out there. But, you know, I figured I'd just settle for that C harness. You know, it does everything. You know, knobs are reversed to some positions. It changed, like, how the guitar sounds, honestly. Changed everything all about it. So, like I said, maybe at the end I'll do a little sound clip demo for everybody, but it really did make a big difference putting that C-Series harness into my V-Series guitar. Moving on, the Bigsby. Of course, I got rid of the paint that was on it. I had chipped down some of it, and I had just a little bit of the black left over inside around Bigsby, and that's actually the way it looks like John's was too, around 63, 64 or so. But I kind of went then a little too happy and just ended up getting rid of all the paint around Bigsby. And then, of course, the hardware. John's had all flathead screws in all the positions that hold down the Bigsby unit. And of course these come with the Phillips head, and most do as well. And of course the big Phillips head that holds down the Bigsby arm, I switched that out for something that was kind of close and comparable in size, but of course John's was countersunk, and I didn't feel like getting involved with the whole countersink and all that fun stuff, and then trying to find a perfect Phillips head that was the right diameter that would fit perfectly in that countersunk spot. A little too much. So all I did was I just used a little collar with this Phillips head, nylon lock nut underneath. Works perfectly. The Bigsby arm doesn't move up and down. It still positions it centered pretty well. I had these kits for sale. It was the screw kit, come with the Phillips, and there are all the flatheads and all the positions as well. I might put them back up for sale coming up soon again. Not too sure, but keep an eye out for that. That might be coming if anybody's interested in converting their hardware over on their Bigsby unit. But past that, I don't really have any other plans for this guitar besides those few small ones that I was mentioning. Now, last thing actually I do want to talk about is the strings. Of course, it's well documented that when John took off the Kaufman vibrato and put the Bigsby unit on, him and his good friend Chris Hudson had put Sonomatic round wound strings on, presumably E340s, which were a 12 gauge with a wound G. For me, I put Diodario 12 gauge with a wound G, part number EJ21s. Love them. I pretty much have them on all my guitars and they sound great. So if you have any questions or you want to know anything more about this guitar or want to hear it more or anything like that, leave a comment below. Thanks for watching, everybody. Catch you on the next episode.